Hi, Mama Winters. I knew I had to say something to you when I saw on social media that they wanted videos for teachers who have impacted us. And I think impacted is such a small word for all that you really did for me. I knew that you had my back. I knew that you were here for me. I knew that if I needed anything like a coffee or a place to hide during lunch or a hug or someone to care for me, I knew that you would be there, and I will forever be grateful for that, because in high school I really think that I know that I needed that, and I didn't see that at the time. I try every day to emulate you and all you did as an educator in teaching with love and compassion and kindness and empathy, and be there for my students. I think multiple times a day, what would Mama Winters do in this situation? What would she say to me? And I try to do that for my kids in the way that you did for me, and I will pass on and remember you forever and all that you've done.
Hi, Mrs. Vivek. I'm so happy that I was able to have you as my 5th grade teacher. I have learned so much from you, and you have been a role model for me since I graduated elementary school. Thank you so much for all you have done for me. Love you, and see you soon.
One thing I love about my teacher, or a couple, is that she's kind, sweet, and every time we need help, she always helps us.
I'm giving a shout out to Mr. P because he is funny.
We just want to acknowledge and say why we appreciate Miss Destro, 3rd grade teacher at Union Pleasant Elementary School.
She made me feel welcome to the new school year, and she was kind and funny and made learning fun, and she says hello and gives me hugs still every day.
This video is for Miss Raybold. I had you for English, and it was probably one of my favorite classes. You have left a lasting impression on me throughout how I teach, and I truly appreciate everything that you did for me in my life at Hamburg High School.
I want to give a shout out to Miss Salino because she helps me with math and she's amazing.
Hi, we're shouting out Miss Brand, Miss Lafko, and Miss Jen. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Shredder, for always being so nice. Thank you, Mr. Patella, for always being so nice and making my day. Thank you, Mrs. Klein and Mrs. McGloin, for always being so nice and caring. Thank you, Mrs. Brooks, for always being so nice and always being there for me.
Hi, Mrs. Wellington. It's Erin Ryan from the class of 2003. Just wanted to reach out to you and say thank you for having such a positive influence on my life. I really enjoy now that I'm coaching back at Hamburg that we have been able to continue a relationship. It's very nice talking with you and Mr. Wellington when you are able to supervise our games. And I hope that you have a great Teacher Appreciations Week.
Whenever I look back to when I was at Hamburg, some of my favorite memories come from speaking with my earth science teacher, Brian Kahuli. Mr. Kahuli is a great teacher and an even better person. I can't count the number of times I would go down to his room after school to talk with him. He was, and I bet still is, always open with students. He is encouraging, helpful, and ready to give advice about life problems or just a kind word to any who to ask him. Even after I moved out of his class, I still managed to find time to meet with him, and there were almost always other students in the classroom, either getting help with classwork or personal issues. Every time I had a conversation with him, I either learned something new and important, or found myself laughing at some event that had happened to him earlier in the day or in his life. Mr. Kahuli is a blessing to everyone around him, and I myself am a much better person from having met him.
One thing I like about Miss Sherry is that she's silly and she makes learning fun.
I'm giving a shout out to Miss Zach because she fills our hearts with joy and she's really nice.
I would like to thank Miss Shamir because she's always so nice.
I would especially like to thank all of the English teachers that I had throughout my time at Hamburg Middle School and High School. A special thanks to Miss Lazinski, Mr. Meter, and Mrs. Losi. Thank you still to this day for sharing materials with me and helping me be a better teacher for my students. Thank you for all you do for your past students, current, and future.
My favorite thing about Mrs. Lazarus is she always gives the best hugs. And Miss Bernardi, she's always supportive. And for Miss Brayman, I just loved how she was always so nice, and it just made me so happy. For Miss Gainey, my favorite thing about her is she was kind.
Hi, we wanted to show our appreciation for Mrs. Dickens. Ben has Mrs. Dickens this year and is having a great year with her. And she has been so helpful, and she does all the things that Ben needs. and is really making a wonderful year for him. So thank you, Mrs. Dickens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dickens. Bye.
Thanks to Mrs. Follette for being nice.
I thank Miss Winowitz for always helping me no matter what questions I had. From math questions to social studies questions, she was always there to help.
I want to give a shout out to Miss Buzek because she's the reason I want to come to school, and she fills our classroom with joy.
What I love about Mrs. Willow is that she teaches us new stuff.
Thank you, Miss Fraser. We love you.
And this video is for Miss Winters. Thank you for always being like a second mom for me.
I wanted to shout out Mr. Pulowski, who I had in 3rd grade in Army Elementary School, and how I will never ever forget the time that you got me through my first fire drill and I got on the Workman's Hall of Fame, and I will never ever forget that. And I appreciate all the times that we spent watching Carmen Sandiego and lunch and analyzing the Full House theme song. I will never forget all the time that I've spent in that classroom and everything that you've done for me and all the other kids. I miss you so much, and you are my favorite teacher to this day.
I have 2 favorite teachers at Union Pleasant. One of them is Mrs. Firth. She's kind and loving. Even if she does get a little strict, you can still see her good side at all times. And Mr. Birmingham, he's funny. He's not the most organized person, but he always keeps you on his toes.
Mrs. Perry and Mrs. Luders, my 7th grade teachers, you guys were hilarious. You made probably one of the best classes I've ever had. Mrs. Bogner and Mrs. Rush, you guys are amazing. I really enjoy the startups at the beginning of the day, and Mrs. Bogner, I love talking about Fall Out Boy with you. You guys have made me love English even more than I already have.
I think my favorite teacher would be Mrs. Schaefer because she helped me so much over the years.
Hi. Hi. We wanted to say thank you to Miss Carr for being a wonderful teacher to Will this year. He is having a great year, and we are so thankful for you.
Thank you.
What I love about Ms. Bartu is that she loves to play board games with me and does a lot of fun stuff with me.
I love when Miss Moscato, I don't know, I just like her as a teacher, and she's really nice and kind and makes an effort to connect with us.
I give a shout out to Miss Schroeder because she let us do fun activities in gym, and she's always nice.
The teacher I'd like to shout out for Teacher Appreciation Week is Brian Gahuli. For my sophomore year, I was very nervous going in because I didn't know anybody, and I ended up coming in a day early, and I ended up meeting him, and ever since then, he's been the strongest advocate for me.
My favorite teacher is Mr. Canner. He really makes math fun, and he's really funny, and we both get along good. And put it in my pocket, put it in my back pocket.
Miss Buzek always fills our hearts with joy and happiness.
I'd like to thank Miss Cheddar for being a super nice teacher and caring about her students.
I thank Mrs. Capozzi for having a great social studies class. She always worked hard to help her students and would go that extra mile. She has done so much, and I will always remember her.
I like my teacher, Mrs. Brown, because she brought us a new Play-Doh when she came back, and she's really, really nice.
Naturally, I spent a lot of time in the school library, and the librarians, they've been amazing about it. Mrs. Mulver and Miss Rosiak and all the other aides, you guys are just epic, amazing, incredible. You always look out for me. You're recommending books. You don't mind that I spend an absolutely unhealthy amount of time in the library. I'm really gonna miss you. It's been amazing.
I appreciate Miss Carr because she's patient and kind to me, and most thing of all is that she believes in me. Thank you, Miss Carr.
Hi, Mr. Harrigan. It's Erin Ryan here in honor of Teacher Appreciation Week. I just wanted to send you a video and thank you for the positive impact you've had on my life. I try and have my students feel the same way that you made me feel, and I give them nicknames like you did to me. I still finally remember that you called me Dr. Ryan. I also still really enjoy the hunt for Red October till this day. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything you have done.
Hi, Mrs. Richter. We have a special message for you. We love you. Say thanks. The best teacher ever. We've learned so much this year. We love you.
I want to give a shout out to Miss Buzek because she gives us optional homework.
What I like about my teacher best is that she always tries to make it fun for us. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
I want to thank Miss Takis for being the best and always taking care of her students.
I need to give a shout out to Mrs. Allen for teaching us how to stay in the lines and draw so neatly. And also, I want to thank her for teaching us how to make things with clay.
This video is for Allison Crizel. As my high school librarian, you truly inspired me. You helped me get through some crazy times during high school, and the library has become a place that I love. And seeing that I'm actually a school librarian now, I definitely think you had quite an impact on me.
I like to thank Mrs. Lazarus because in second grade I had her. She was one of my favorite teachers. She taught me my math back. She was just one of the kindest teachers I've ever had.
I feel like all of my teachers are doing a great job. My teachers are Mr. Patillo, Mrs. McGoin, Mrs. Treader or Miss Joyce, and Mrs. Brooks, and all the other teachers in those rooms. Also thanks to the club teachers and specials teachers. They made my experience at my first year of middle school a lot better.
My favorite teacher was Miss Destro. The reason I liked her so much is because we both loved to listen to Ava Brothers, and she was so nice and caring like all of the other teachers here. So give some appreciation to all the other teachers in the building.
Important to understand and really to go and recognize what they do and to thank them for it every day.
What I love about my teacher, Mr. Salvatore, is that he always gives us time to finish up something that we need to work on. Like if I need more time on my lab movie, he'll give me plenty of time to do it.
Thanks, Ms. Hartman, for being my only and favorite chorus teacher.
I like to give a big shout out to Miss Benish for helping me learn how to spell.
The teacher I would like to shout out is Nicole Conrad. She was my biology teacher last year, and she took me under her wing and was really just amazing and kind, and continues to do so in my sophomore year. And I have a slew of health issues, but she's always been by my side. Thank you, Mrs. Conrad.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Mrs. Egger because she always helps me in reading groups.
And what I love about Mr. Rossello is that she's funny. My favorite teachers are Mrs. Noble and Miss Bovero because they help me learn. I really like my teacher, Miss Margin, and I like reading books with her.
Thank you, Miss Ellie, for helping me out through the years, helped me out with all my school work and everything. You're an amazing teacher and helper.
I want to thank Mrs. McFadden for always helping me and always having me try my hardest and work towards accomplishing the most. I loved her class, and I loved all the fun activities we did. I loved her study halls. I loved our lunches together. I loved everything about her class and hope she is doing well.
What I love about Mr. Salvatore is he makes everything fun. Hope you have an amazing Teacher Appreciation Week.
A-E-I-O-U, sometimes walk.
Who helped you learn that?
Mrs. Adowski helped me.
Mrs. Wododsky did. Can you say thank you, Mrs. Wododsky?
Thank you, Mrs. Adowski.
My teacher is Miss Winowitz, and what I love about her is she does stuff different than any other teacher in the school.
So my favorite thing about Miss Sherry is that she's always kind and she's always willing to help with all the stuff I need help with. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
I love Mrs. Gardner because she's kind and sweet.
And one thing that I really wanted to say about Miss Winowitz in third grade is that she really comes up with really fun learning games.
I love Mrs. Gardner because she helps us when we're stuck on something.
My math teachers, Mr. Story and Miss Gold, they've made math very enjoyable for me. They kind of like helped me get much more comfortable with it.
Hi, Mrs. Myers. It's Erin Ryan from the class of 2003. I just wanted to reach out to you and say thank you so much for having such a positive impact on my life. And I just want to say thank you for all the conversations we've had throughout the years. You're such a positive role model to myself and to many of the students that you have influenced over the years.
The thing I like best about my teacher, Miss Holstein, is that she always tries to make it fun for us no matter what.
I would have to say Miss Kenny's my favorite teacher because she's understanding.
I would like to give a shout out to Miss McGowan for helping me with intervention and multiplication.
My teacher is Miss Sherry. What I love about her is she's the best teacher I've ever had, and she's really smart, so I teach very well and have good grades.
I love Mrs. Brennan because she lets us do ketchup and pickles at the end of the day.
I like to give a shout out to Mrs. Ersing because she taught me recorder and I am really good at it now. I am on my red belt. And she taught us for like so many of our concerts, and I am so happy for them.
Mrs. Springborn and Mrs. Chow, you guys make social studies just an insanely fun place to be.
Hey Shanna, it's Erin Ryan. I just wanted to reach out to you and say happy Teacher Appreciation Week. I want to thank you for always supporting the girls basketball program and myself as a coach. It's always nice to have parental support. And I want to also thank you for always having our players' backs. I know many of them confide in you and you're listening to them and always trying to give good advice. So we appreciate you always helping the girls out.
Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.